Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, Facebookers. Good evening, social media fanatics, if I may call it like that, because we always meet on the streets and Facebook. Once again, Ginger the Voice at your doorstep. It's a Wednesday night, 7 p.m. That's the appointment we have every Wednesday with you. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. If you can see our profile or you can hear us, please like our video or just wave to us and say something so that we know that you are with us. It's a Wednesday, 7th of October, and we are just 3 months away till the end of the year. Funny how the year just went up ice very, very, very quickly. So yes, Facebookers, thank you so much. We can see you liking our profile there. Thank you so much. Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be afraid to wave to us. Don't be afraid to like our video tonight. We would like you to see you with us tonight. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We'll just give it 2 more seconds just for people to come through. Thank you, Jared. I can see you liking our video, which means that you are in. Thank you so much for waiting. Thank you for your patience. We had just a bit of a technical glitch here and there. But yeah, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll just give it a more like 2-3 seconds to allow our regular viewers to come through. But thank you so much for coming. Please don't be afraid to just like our video, or you can say hello, wave to us so that we know that you are with us tonight. Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, it is a Wednesday. We are here at your doorstep as Ginger the Voice to bring you information, create awareness. It is this week Human Trafficking Awareness Week. Actually, it ends today because it starts on the 1st of October till the 7th of October. So we have exciting, exciting guests with us tonight. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we have our viewers tonight. Thank you so much for joining in. Welcome. My name is Ginger, and I am the founder of Ginger the Voice. It is a company that seeks to give enlightenment, courage, and hope to you at home. So we do this through various platforms such as speaking, singing, hosting talk show, and also emceeing. So we are at your doorstep today talking about human trafficking. It is one of the crimes that are going on a rise in our country, and not just in South Africa, but in other parts of the world. And the sad part about this is that it does not just affect the female gender or the female species, but we find ourselves crossing fingers that even our sons, if we send them out, will they come home? It comes in different forms. It's obviously one of the tools that they use to make people sex slaves, make people sell drugs at some point, and at times they use people and they murder them for rituals. So it is a very scary crime. And tonight we've got 2 of our guests who are experts in this. They work with human trafficking. They work with within the cyberspace, because most of the time the channels that the perpetrators use is the cyberspace. So tonight, if you're a mother and a father, if you're an uncle or you're an older sister, you need to listen until the end, because we are going to tell you how they actually do things. We're going to tell you how they actually go about luring your children. The child that you've bought an iPhone for, you think he's busy playing games, but hey, there comes a perpetrator knocking at his or her door via the social media platform. So tonight we have exciting guests who know what they're talking about, who work with these victims, and we've got Colleen with us, Colleen McOllins. If you remember her, she's been on our show before, and we thank her for coming through. We also have Adrian Jordan. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but if I am, or if I'm not, he will correct me at a later stage. We thank you so much for coming through. You're welcome, Andre, and also Colleen, you're also welcome to the show tonight. We've got this exciting topic. It's quite scary. It's horrific. It's one of the things that we would rather not even talk about. But if we're silent, then people will not know, and then the perpetrators win, and our children and our society will definitely be at spoils. So we cannot afford not to talk about it. So thank you so much, Colleen, for coming through. Thank you so much, Adrian, for coming through. Colleen, before we start, tell me, you work with the human trafficking in the human trafficking space. When did you start? How long have you been there? And what are the pressures that you've experienced?
Yes, I do. I work with victims of human trafficking, mainly sex trafficking, the victims that I work with. It's been about 5 years now that I've been working with the victims. And our challenges are the system, and also just once we've taken a lady out of human trafficking, is how do we get her back into society again to have a normal life? That is a challenge.
Okay, tell me, you just spoken about a lady being in human trafficking, and what I read was that actually it's not just the female gender that's at risk, even our sons and the male gender is also at risk. So have you ever come across a situation where you have to fight for a male person, a son, a boy child who is under attack?
Not in my experience yet, but there definitely are. Yes, there's so many types of forms of human trafficking. Not only sex trafficking. There's many different. There's many.
Okay.
Many ways.
Like what? Can you give us an example?
So child labor is one. Okay. Illegal child adoption is another. It's a form of human trafficking, where a social worker could sell a child and have a child illegally adopted and not go through the proper system. Organ harvesting for multi-purposes, child marriage, forced marriages. I think it's called ukutwala, is it? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
The domestic servitude, labor in fruit and farms.
So just to catch you, that you're saying to me that ukutwala is also forms part of human trafficking.
Yes.
Okay, that's a bit of a shock or surprise to us, especially the Black nation, because that is our practice. That's how we do things. Is this legislated? Is this in the government gazette to say that? Is anyone or Twelweyo is then declared as someone who is a victim of human trafficking?
Yes, it is in the legislation.
Are you serious?
Yep. And another common sugarcane industry. There's a lot of labor, human trafficking going on there. Literally anyone on farms where you find cheap labor, there's a potential for exploitation and trafficking. Forced labor. The mining industry is another one. The fishing industry is also another one. There's been cases that these fishermen have been out to the sea for months, even years. They can't just jump ship. Sex trafficking is the one that I work, the space that I work in.
And I suppose the sex trafficking is the most popular one.
Well, that's the one that I'm the most aware of.
Okay. So what do they actually do when you say sex trafficking? They take the kids and do what with them?
Well, they work in the brothels, strip clubs, prostitution, pornography. So there's many factors to sex trafficking.
Okay. All right. Adrian, thank you so much for coming through. We welcome you to Junior The Voice tonight. I know that you're a cyber investigator and you've been working with such cases for a very long time. My question to you would be, how then do we know why is social media unsafe? Why would you say social media is a platform that is not entirely safe for our children? Please unmute your microphone, Adrian. We cannot hear you. Unmute your microphone. Thank you.
From my own experience and what I've seen is that when you connect to some of these people, you never know who you connect to. You don't know whether that person has a fake profile, whether that picture that really belongs to somebody that you see, for example, on your Facebook page. So you connect to somebody that you don't really know. Now, what happens is kids are being groomed and they're becoming friends. They start to win their trust. Once they win the trust, they start to ask them for pictures. And obviously, when the kids start sending these nude pictures, then they get blackmailed. And that is where you go into something like streaming of sexual acts, all of these type of things. They get coerced into this. And the thing is that is only one example of what is happening. Blackmail, somebody also tried to blackmail me, and they don't mind whether you have sent any pictures or not. They will download pictures from the net because there are so much pornography on the web, and they will just put it on your Facebook page. So For them, it's just about blackmailing whoever they can and get money out of people. So when we look at these type of things, the kids want to be belonging somewhere. They look for popularity. They like people or a lot of followers. These are the type of things that they want, and they want to be seen, and they can express themselves, and they can be creative, all of these things. The other thing is also they try new things. They test the boundaries. And when they start testing the boundaries, then these pedophiles and criminal groups are actually sitting and waiting for them and enticing them to do something, and then they have them. Now the child is caught up, or this person is caught up in this thing, and they're just too ashamed to say anything. They're too scared. They get threatened. They get threatened that their families will be harmed. There's a whole evil thing going around this whole thing. So that is the problem that we sit with. If you look at the cyber sphere at the moment, it is predicted that in 2021, that's next year, cybercrime will be the third biggest crime in the world. It will be the third biggest economy, just after the United States and China. So now you can think how much of cybercrime and online crime is actually happening with organized crime and all of these groups right through Africa, into Europe, all of these things. If I can give you an example, I was doing some research on the darknet recently, and I came onto a site where you can rent a slave. So when
maybe Adrian, you can just explain to us, what is the dark web? What is this dark site? Because we've been hearing this jargon or terminology.
Okay,
we don't understand. What is it?
Okay, if we look at the internet, we have the normal, what we call the surface internet, where we have Google and Yahoo and all of these guys that we normally use on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
Then you get something that's called the deep web. The deep web is normally used by governments. It's used by universities. That's not the dark web yet. That is just a different sphere in this, where there is a lot of repositories and all of these things for a lot of information. So you can go into this deep web without even knowing that. But when you go to the dark web, you have heard about Tor, T-O-R. That is the browser that you use to go into the dark web. And it stands for the onion router. Now, the onion router, or Tor, it's got different layers. So that is the idea, that when you go into the dark web and you use Tor as a browser, you can't do it with Google or these other ones. So when you go into the dark web, it bounces your signal, your IP address from your computer around in the net. So it's very difficult to trace. But in the dark net, you will find drugs, you will find stolen credit cards. There's anything that you want. You can even, if you can order drugs in the dark web and have it delivered to your home. But there is a lot of...
Tell me, so the dark web cannot be traced. If we would investigate now a perpetrator who used the dark web to, allure a child, can that be traced?
They can. Even pedophiles have websites in the dark web. For example, when I was researching in the dark web, looking for something, I found the site that says slaves for hire. So when I looked at it, it was girls from 9 years old up to about 70, with their pictures, everything. So you would pay about $3,000 or 3,000 euros, and you can rent this girl for about 2 weeks, 14 days, delivered anywhere.
Tell me, Adrian, is that
That
what's
is the
happening
type of
currently?
things that you will find.
But is that what is happening currently in our society
Yes.
now in South Africa?
I can't say in South Africa. I've seen that that specific one was girls from the USA. It was Romania, a lot of countries in Europe, and you could order. So when you go into that web, you can also look at the comment board. The comment board is where the customers make comments. So from an investigative point of view, you would go and you would look at the comment boards, who rented which girl, because the guys leave comments to say, how was the slave? And that is the reality. Now, Ginger, if we look at that scenario, and we look at the dark web, and they bust a pornographic website on the dark web with 60,000 customers worldwide on one website, what stops them from being in South Africa or being in Africa? It's a worldwide web. So I can belong to, I can enter any website and I can buy from any website in the world. My question is, if they make these big busts in the USA and in Europe, what about South Africa? Why don't we read about that, about South Africa? Because we're not that unique. We're also human. We're exposed to the same things. So there is a lot of bad in the dark web. I wouldn't advise people to go there. You need to have specific settings. So you can end up just harming yourself by going there. And there's other people also that say that it's not that dangerous. Yeah, I hear what you say, but you don't know what you're going to find because the sites are not indexed like it is on the normal Google site. On Google, you can see what you're going to enter, the name of the site. There on the dark web, it is numbers and figures. It is totally differently indexed. So you don't know what you see until you open it. And,
so you might just land into the wrong hands.
Yes, yes.
Too much of a risk. Colleen, coming to you, tell me, these perpetrators, what is their target audience? Who are they looking for specifically?
Really, anybody and everyone. Traffickers target a particular profile depending on what is required. It's really like any business. It works on the basis of supply and demand, really. So culprits can be, and the culprits can be anyone as well. I mean, a lot of the cases involved are women traffickers. In a lot of cases, the victims knew the traffickers. I mean, it's easy because there's some sort of trust already that's developed. And to a certain degree, and other cases can be total strangers. So, anyone and everyone can be a victim. Like I said,
I remember you once told me a story of a lady who was actually a victim of human trafficking. Maybe you can share that with us, that she actually was looking for a job. Yes. And I think I was shocked to death. I was like, what? Here's someone in need of something and desperate for a job. She goes to an interview out of desperation, obviously needing the job, only to find that her life is in danger. What happened to this lady?
So she applied for a job in the newspaper, went for the interview in a very smart house in Sandton.
Sorry, so you're saying the job advert was in the newspaper?
In the newspaper. A few years ago, they used to advertise in the Citizen in the newspaper, in the job section. Yeah. And she applied for a receptionist job there. She was busy studying at the time, helping her mom, and she needed to find a job because her father had passed away. She thought she'd get a job and study part-time. And that's really how she got tricked. She went for the interview. What they said, it looked like a normal company. It was in a house. They said she had got the position, but she would have to have training for 3 months, in-house training for 3 months. They said the driver would take her home, she'd get her stuff, and she'd come back. And that's how it happened. And she was trafficked for 10 years. 10 years before we got her out of trafficking. Sex trafficking. So, I mean, the stories are horrific. It takes time to break. Some girls break in quicker than others. The things that these girls see are horrific. You know, they really, it's a mental game as well. They get mentally, psychologically messed up. You know, she was told that if she doesn't comply, they'll kill her mother. You know, and they're so fearful at that stage that if you tell them to jump, they will jump. She's seen girls killed because they wouldn't break in. She was put in a room. She stayed in the room for 2 weeks. It took her 2 weeks for them to break her in. Literally, it was like almost like if you want to call it an attic, it was the room at the bottom of the house. And that's where she stayed with other girls. They would give her a slice of bread every day and a bit of water and a bucket for the toilet. And yeah, you know, they played Russian roulette with the girls as well. She doesn't know was the gun loaded or not. Don't know if it's just a mental game to instill fear. So these girls are literally so scared that they don't run away.
No, they will stay there because
they break them in, and that becomes a cycle.
So tell me, now there's a perception out there that the perpetrators are actually foreign nationals. How true is it, and how accurate is that?
You know, I can't really say they're foreign nationals. I think all nationalities are involved. I know there's, you know, people say it's Nigerians. Are the Nigerians the ones that are part of the trafficking? I think trafficking it's a syndicate. There's a link. Every part there's a link in every chain. So you will have your recruiter in trafficking. They will recruit the girl. Then you'll have the person, you know, driving the girl. So there's so many links to human trafficking. So to say that it's one specific nationality, I think would probably be incorrect. But I mean, we do know that, you know, Nigerians are involved in the sex trade. That is common knowledge. But to just say it is just them involved, I don't think we could say that.
Okay. And what I also want to know from you is so I heard you earlier on talking about these kids being broken. They have to break them before. Do they use physical, you know, intimidation to them, or they just talk about killing their parents and killing their relatives, or is physical violence also involved?
Oh, physical violence is definitely involved. Definitely, they call, you know, they have they call them their bodyguards, but they're not. They're there to watch the girls. They beat the girls. The one specific girl that we got from sex trafficking, she had a daily target to meet. It's like a sales job. You know, you've got your target to meet daily, and that's what you have to do. So if you have to service 20 clients that day, that's what you must do. And if you don't, you are severely punished for not reaching your targets.
Just for interest's sake, are they then protected maybe from, you know, do they use condoms? Are they protected in terms of their health? Because if you go to sleep with so many men, you might just come across a man who is HIV positive or a man who's got an STD. Are they then protected by these perpetrators from getting these sort of diseases?
No, they don't. They're not protected at all. You know, they are just a commodity. They're there to make the money, and that's it. They don't care about the girl's well-being or anything like that. It's really the client's decision to use a condom or not to use a condom, and also the clients, you know, to fulfill their sexual fantasies with these girls as well. You know, they are so they're so conditioned that they will do whatever is told. They will just do it.
Okay. Do you think that most of the girls that you've come across come from a low-income group? Because there's that perception as well that they target your poor people who come from a poor background, who are desperate and in need of money, for instance.
Not at all. Not at all. You know, anyone can be trafficked. That is. I mean, this one specific girl, she came from a very good family. You know, her father passed away, and when he passed away, everything fell apart, and that's really where she got trafficked. But she came from a very, very good home. Another girl that we got out of trafficking as well, she's also comes from a very, very good home. She was a qualified ballet teacher, and then also applied for a job as a teacher. Her mom passed away, and she was the only child, applied for this job, being naive, and then got trafficked into sex trafficking. So it's not true. It can, anybody anybody
As a victim.
can be trafficked. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you're not educated or no.
Okay.
I think, like I say, it's a supply and demand. If that is what they're looking for, those are the girls they're going to find.
So if they're looking for a skinny girl at that point in time, they're going to look for skinny girls. If the supply,
Absolutely.
the demand is on chubby slay queens, if I may put it that way,
Yeah.
they look for that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
It's quite
supply and
awful.
demand.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Adrian, coming back to you, can you then tell us how do we then spot a trafficker? How do I know that when someone asks for a friendship on Facebook, they might just be a trafficker? How do I pounce around that? How do I protect myself and our kids as well?
That is very difficult, very wide. But let me start with this. If you look at incidents as well, as Colleen said, it could be anybody involved, even parents renting out their own children. That also happens. They advertise them online, they rent them out. We have a document, if you want to read that, it is a thesis about human trafficking, a lived experience. That was published, I think, last year. It was written by Dr. Marcel van der Walt. So in that document, with 120 interviews, they determined basically that, I think the youngest girl that I read in that was 7 years of age. And some of these instances, the lawyers are involved, social workers are involved, some police is involved due to corruption. We have incidents there where the Hawks don't want to investigate because of all the corruption and they get threatened. So when you walk, say for example, you go to a function somewhere, you see a child with a man or a lady, and later on you see that very same child with a different man or a lady. It can be as simple, as subtle as that, and you won't even realize what is happening if you are not switched on for that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's not always the locked up ones, the ones in the dark rooms. It happens right under our noses. It could be our neighbors. And that is the type of thing that we must start realizing, that it could be anybody. So it is very difficult to actually tell whether somebody is a trafficker. When we look online, I look more from an investigation point of view, and I would look at the profiles. What is the profile of the person? What is his background? Who are the friends? And then I would look whether that is a fake profile, whether it is a fake picture. There are different ways you can do this online, but that is what we do when we do the workshops and educate people on these things. Then we show them how to do this. And then once we've done that and we raise that awareness and we help the people to set up basic security measures, then we go to an advanced level and we set up their computers and their devices in such a way that some of these things are blocked and that they can manage it from their own devices to see whether these people are fakes or what is happening here. So there are various ways in which you can address this, but at the end of the day, you need to realize that it is a very big problem. It happens online. I think it's 42% of people that's being trafficked online never even meet the trafficker in real life. So they recruited online with some or other promise. They are blackmailed or met somewhere and they get passed on to somebody else. So that in itself tells you that there's a big problem. General Linda from the SAPS also last year, he realized that there is a big problem on online. The problem being, Ginger, is that I think we as Christians, we lost the plot a little bit in terms of protecting a family unit. The family unit is the most important unit that we can protect these kids and educate them and be there for them. If a child gets bullied, where is he going to? Where is he going to get help if the family unit is not there? If I take it a step further, I think our church also, Colleen spoke about earlier, she mentioned something about the church before we started. I have tremendous issues with the church because no church will listen to what we have to say to educate the kids and the people to protect themselves. Yeah. So there is a major issue in that. And I think if I can just finish off with that, is that I think people are scared. People are so scared that they're too scared to make a decision and too scared to try something. And I want to take it back to the 90s, the late 90s, when I got to do for the first time with a work computer. We didn't use computers. So here this machine is, it's got buttons, a keyboard, I must press buttons, I must do something. And people tell me, hey, this thing can send a message, referring to email. I said, that's impossible. How can they? You can only post a letter. That's all you can do. And we were too scared to press a button on that computer because something can go wrong, something can break, something can happen. And I think if we look today, kids in the schools get tablets. They are so wise that parents think they can't teach them anything. Yeah. But kids are naive. Yeah. And parents need to start realizing you need to start somewhere. Learn these things. It's something you can learn to do. You didn't type right in the beginning when computers came out. You learned to type. So you learn these things, and it's not rocket science. It's basic stuff that we can do, but we need to change the attitude.
I just like what you just said now, that we have forsaken the family unit as a church. So it goes back to saying that we need to encourage the family unit. You know, parents must be present in their children's lives. I think that's what you're trying to say to us, that you need to be there. Yeah. Know what your child downloads on his or her tablet or phone, because parents nowadays even buy iPhones. These kids have iPhones. You know, they have so much access to the net. It's actually unbelievable. And parents are so chilled. They think that, no, they're just playing games. And yet I suppose this is where the perpetrators start with, in the game center, because they know that kids in games, they love games, you know. So I think I hear you from that. Tell me, Colleen, on your side, how widespread is human trafficking in South Africa?
We really don't know, Ginger. I mean, we know that it's real and it's happening. For the longest time, we haven't had a central data collection tool or a central data collection point. You know, the information hasn't been reliable. Only a small amount of the cases have gone to court or even made it onto the court roll. So for a long time, there was no trafficking in person on the case system to label a case as human trafficking. It was always labeled or misidentified as something else, like domestic violence, kidnapping, prostitution. So thankfully, there have been measures put into place that help streamline this, and trafficking has now been put onto the care system, and provided it can be correctly identified. So from there, from the get-go, going forward, I'm hoping we will have better and more accurate stats. Human trafficking.
But is our government assisting? Is our government assisting in supporting people like you who are fighting this crime?
Yeah, you know, it's improved. Let me say that they are assisting now. So many government departments need to be speaking to each other because of the many layers of trafficking in persons. We often see communication challenges within a department, let alone between departments. So, however, having said that, there has been a lot of progress over the past year. We have provincial task teams now set up in each province. These are co-led by the Department of Justice and the National Prosecuting Authority. We also have a National Rapid Response Task Team now. So there has been improvements. You know,
Okay.
that's
So a person like me who's just working, an employee, and I come across a situation like that, do I have to go report it? Where do I go? Do I go to the nearest police station, or there's a number that I can call? Because you find that I cannot go there myself. It might just be too dangerous. I need support in terms of police. How do I then get that?
So, you know, the law enforcement, so if they're comfortable with doing that, I mean, they technically should be allowed to have their statement taken and a case opened. However, we do know on the ground, working on the ground and through experience, it can be incredibly challenging for a variety of reasons. So an alternative channel is the national hotline. There's a hotline. I'll give you the number as well that you can take. It's 0800 222 777. That is a 24-hour number that is manned, and the task team, you know, they'll see, is it a trafficking in persons case, and they'll send a task team out. There's also an organization called Love Justice. They've recently launched a Freedom app, which can be downloaded on any Android device. There's also a panic button attached to it. So it's a brilliant and easy to use tool that can mobilize assistance if needed. So, you know, there's a lot of progress that's been made. So I think, you know, the first one I would call is the hotline, because the hotline will follow up on the case. You know, they'll do a lot of research and see if it is really a human trafficking incident or not. Because sometimes, yeah, it's not, because you get those calls as well.
Okay. Tell me, so does this human trafficking crime happen in underground or illegal industries?
No, absolutely not. A lot of the time, legitimate businesses are used as a front for the illegal activities that are happening in the background.
Colleen, you've muted your mic. Please unmute your mic. You've muted your mic.
Sorry. So no, absolutely not. I don't know where you heard me until. A lot of the time, legitimate businesses are used as a front for the illegal activities that are happening in the background.
Okay. And there's also a perception, I don't know if you are comfortable in answering this question, that even some government officials are involved in this, but obviously at the background. How true is it and how accurate is that?
Absolutely, that is true. That is true. There's been a recent case that I had where the lady had also gone for an interview, and she needed the bathroom. She went to the bathroom, and on the stairs going the emergency exit, she heard a conversation going on between the police officers, the female police officers, and money being handed over to them, and they were saying, she asked, where are the girls going to be taken to? And they named the different countries that the girls are going to. So, absolutely, you know, were they real police? We don't know. Sometimes they could be masquerading as police, but there have been cases where the police are involved. We had one specific girl that had got away from her perpetrator and went to the police station, and the police station phoned the pimp to tell him that she's at the police station. And he came to collect her and took her back. So absolutely, there are
cases where these girls are really not safe. Yes, it's quite sad. Adrian, coming back to you, you spoke about the church not playing its part, and also saying that we probably are afraid of change because we've never come across such a situation in our generation where there's human trafficking. So what do you propose? What is the job or the responsibility of the church in the community to try work against this, to fight it, to curb the rise of human trafficking? What is the church supposed to be doing?
Linda, I think from my perspective is we're not going out there and give the people bad, gory stuff, graphic things. We want to go out there and tell the people, listen, when your kids are online, be careful of this, use this program or use that program, see that they do this. This is the way that you do it. That type of thing that we want to go and share out there. But I think the church is probably scared that we are going to address an issue that they would rather feel that the congregation or the people should not be discussing. It's almost like sex education.
Yeah.
It is something, now leave it for the parents or leave it for somebody else. Let us not open this. Maybe we open a can of worms and then we don't know how to handle this. So I can see on the one side where the church are very, very reluctant, but also if we look from a Christian perspective, the Bible says we must educate our people, we must look after our children, we must look out for them. So how are we going to do this if we don't stand together? Because the family unit also goes back to the church. So the church is supposed to advise and to be there as leadership. I think for families, especially today, with all the things that's going on and the violence and all of these things. So I just expect that the church should have a bigger voice and allow people, even schools, we find the same thing. Allow people to come in and do it in a professional way, orderly, and start educating our people so we can protect our people. We need to protect our young people. One day they're going to turn around and say, you guys knew all of these things, but you never told us. You never looked up for us. What now? Correct.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't have a specific answer for you, but I think I would like to see the church and the schools playing a bigger part in this.
Yeah.
So as a cyber investigator and as a Christian, like you say you are, what is it that you are doing to make a difference and to probably market this to the church leaders? Have you done something? Have you been creating awareness around the churches? Because I feel like if you see a problem, then you should be the leader, lead us into the right way. So what have you done in order to make sure that churches come together and understand what this is all about and buy into it?
Okay, what I've done, I have spoken to some ministers, especially when we talk about churches. I had one or two opportunities to speak to the people, to raise awareness. I have set up a webinar for the 31st, is it the last Saturday of the month? I think it's 31st of October, for all pastors and reverends and church leaders. A free webinar for an hour and a half so we can discuss these things, so we can tell the guys what we want to do and how we're going to do this, just to try and get their buy-in into this process. I just feel that I need to go out there, I need to voice these things, and I need to raise the awareness and educate the people on what to do, because we need to do something. What we have is really a unique product that we've put together. I did a lot of research on that. It actually comes from my postgraduate studies. So what we can put on the table is really something extraordinary, and we can make a big difference. But we need the opportunity to do that.
Okay. Colleen, coming back to you.
And that's hard to open those doors.
Okay. Colleen, coming back to you, I want to understand something about the victims. When they break free, somehow? Do they quickly run for help, or does it take time? How do you identify victims? How do you know that this person needs help? Because you did say that it's not just only a physical act, or it also happens that their psychological well-being is negatively impacted, and that needs obviously counseling. That needs someone who's going to mentor them, coach them, and undo everything else that has been done. So how do you, as a person working with human trafficking victims, how do you identify that this person is a victim?
Yeah, I think, firstly, Ginger, in fact, I'd probably say most of the victims, they don't ask for help immediately. There are several reasons for this, though. Firstly, most victims of human trafficking don't self-identify as victims of trafficking. They don't see themselves as a victim. They don't give themselves that label. A lot of psychological manipulation takes place around a traffic victim as well. The pictures we see about traffic victims are often women or children tied up in cages. Yes, it does happen, but it is often not the case. It's not the majority of the cases. It's a psychological and emotional manipulation that is used. For example, blackmail against a family member, like if you don't do what I tell you, we're going to kill you. We will kill your sister. And then often, like I say, girls have been killed in front of the girls that have been trafficked. They have seen girls being murdered, beaten to death. So, they don't immediately ask for help. But I think when you've been working in this industry for long enough, you can see if a girl is trafficked or not. And you just pick it up. But if you're not working in that space, you won't know. You will think, oh, it's just a prostitute. I often say, don't judge that girl on the corner, because you don't know why she's there. You don't know, is she being trafficked or not? Is her pimp close by? They are so fearful of their pimps. Their pimps are like their God. That's how they are to these girls. They are so petrified. So I think for the public to be more aware of human trafficking, and not to be so judgmental about the girls you see on the corner, because they're there. Some of them are there because
there's a situation behind. I hear you.
And often these girls are put on drugs. Most of the time, these girls are on drugs. So what they eventually do, this becomes their life. This becomes their job. Some of the victims, you can get them out of it, and that's our biggest challenge, is getting the girls out of sex trafficking, and then you can put them into a safe house, clean them up, but the thing is, they have no skill. This is all they know. They only know how to sell themselves. So you need to teach these girls a skill, teach them that they're worth so much more, and find out who they really are, and sadly, that is what happens. They go back to what they know, because there is nothing else for them. They've got no work experience. They've got nothing. This is all they know. So rather the devil and go back to your pimp, because you're getting your drugs and you've got a place to stay. So they go back to that, sadly.
Earlier on you spoke about, you gave us a scenario of a lady who actually went for a job interview. So obviously she saw this job advert on a legit newspaper. How do we then, as public, the COVID-19 has gotten a lot of people in a desperate situation where they will be looking for jobs like nobody's business. And in my understanding and knowledge, when you look at a newspaper, you think it's legit. Anything that's in the newspaper, you would think it's legit. So how do then they protect themselves at this critical juncture in their lives where they need a job? How will they know that this job advert is actually a scam? How will they know that should they continue applying?
I think the first thing they should do is, the company where they're going to for interview, check them out. You can check them on, you can go onto Cipro, you can see, is it a registered company? Are they a legit company? Don't just believe everything you see. Some of them even have a website. Make sure, I would really do a research on the company to see that this is really a legit company, because so often it isn't. Check the address that they give you. Google,
maybe drive there if you can with someone.
Yeah, and definitely go with somebody. If you're not comfortable with it, go with somebody. And I think a lot of the time, go with your gut feeling as well. If you have a question mark, there's a reason why. You know, it's always safer to go with someone. Don't go to, that's just how it is. I mean, anybody can be at risk at this time. Some people are just more vulnerable than others. People are desperate for work now. You know, they're desperate to provide for their families. They want a better life. You know, even someone that can be quite well educated, for example, a person who's been given a really good opportunity to grow abroad can fall into the trap of being trafficked. So, you know, I think you really need to research the company where you're going and make sure that it is a legit company. You know, I mean, everything's so available on Google nowadays. You can quickly find out if it is really a proper company or not. And the address, you know, is it a dodgy address? And do some research.
Okay. As we're about to close, Adrian, I want to give you the opportunity to speak firstly to the church addressing this issue of creating awareness. Maybe you can give us 2 or 3 words on that, and then after that, can you just quickly speak to the parents who have children on the net the entire day during our school holidays? What is it that the parents can do in order to, you know, monitor this net surfing of their kids, because it is nowadays not that safe as we think it is?
Okay. I think to the church, I want to say that look at the impact of COVID on our people, the isolation, the increase in online activities. If you look at pornography, you will see that within a few weeks, there were more than 1,000 videos advertised on a specific pornographic website with the theme of COVID. So that is how these things are produced.
Sure.
We as Christians, we have a mandate from God to look after our people, to look out for after people, because if we don't do that, then we do not do what God told us to do. It is as simple as that. We need to stand up. We need to start educating our people. We need to start supporting our families, and we need to be out there. We need to stop talking about theology, and we need to become practical.
Yeah.
We will not win. We will not make a dent in what evil is busy doing if we don't do that. So please take hands. Let's work together on this, and let us do something, and let us not turn back in 5 years' time or 10 years' time and say, the kids said, why didn't we do this? Let's do something, because the day when you pass on, I would greatly say, I did what I could at the best I could do. But I don't want to sit and do nothing, because every day that I sit and do nothing, somebody else gets hurt. And it's our job to look after these people.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Then if we talk to the parents, remember, I've also been a parent. Do you want me to finish?
Yeah. Yes.
I've also been a parent. I have also lost a child due to illness. I know what it feels to lose a child. To lose a child through human trafficking or crime or something like that on the internet is a lot worse than losing somebody to an illness. The children have got access, they've got this device, we put it in their hands, and they are not told how to use this. We must learn how to use these things. If I could learn it, you guys can also learn it. It's not rocket science. It's not that difficult. Just apply your minds, look for help, ask questions, do your research. We can get there, and we need to do that. So don't be scared. Break through that barrier and try it.
Adrian, I want you to please, again, just emphasize the focus of the level of crime that human trafficking will be at in the next year or two. You mentioned it earlier on.
If we look at cybercrime, now I'm including human trafficking in the cybercrime. Now we're talking about the theft of identity theft, ransom, and all of these different types of crimes. The what do you call it now? I lost that word now. If you look at the value of that, the vast amount of cybercrime taking place will be the third biggest economy in 2021, which is next year. That includes all types of cybercrime. It includes crime through human trafficking, online, all of these things. So guys, this is major. This is big. It's just, they're making just a little bit less money than the USA and China. And Japan will be in the 4th place then. That is what is predicted for next year. So we need to get out there, and we need to start looking after our people.
So it's quite a serious way of making money for the perpetrators. So they will do something about it. They'll definitely hike on this opportunity, especially since the economy is not doing well. Everyone wants money. Everyone wants to live. So they will take an advantage of this so-called opportunity, if I may put it that way. Thank you so much, Adrian, for that. Colleen, as a closing statement, what do you have to say about human trafficking, specifically in South Africa, or Africa as a whole?
Yeah, I would say, you know what, I think especially for the ladies out there and the young girls, we are our sisters' keepers. You know, if you know that that your friend is into prostitution, or I think you need to dig a bit deeper, because often these girls don't say that they're being trafficked because now this has become their life. You know, most of our girls, when we rescued them, they didn't say they were trafficked. They thought that, you know, they were just pimped, or they didn't actually label it as being human trafficked. And I think you've got to just be more aware of your surroundings. You know, just if you see a lady walking alone, just befriend her and say, let me walk with you, because people are being taken. You know, they are being kidnapped and put into a car. We've just had a case recently where this lady was in a shop in Turfentine, actually Rosettenville. She was in a shop buying airtime. She just stepped out of the shop. It was like just after lunchtime in the week, where 2 guys grabbed her and forced her into a car. She fought for her life. You know, eventually they let her go. She got away, but she was injured. But I mean, that is exactly what happens. And nobody around her even helped. And it was a busy shop. They grabbed, so we are our sisters' keepers. You know, we do need to look out for each other. I think, you know, we have to we just have to be more alert and more aware. And unfortunately, it is happening. And that's just how we have to live. You know, you have to check everybody out and saying, okay, could it be? Unfortunately, we're living in this era, and that is just how it is in South Africa. You know, especially for the girls that come over our borders with no papers as well. They are easy targets to be trafficked as well. You know, I think you just need to ask questions. You know, be a friend to that girl. You know, and know what the hotline numbers are. If you do suspect someone's being trafficked, call. You know, I'd rather make the call than not make the call and wonder, should I have rather just call. So, I mean, there is help, and definitely download the app, the Love Justice app, because you know, that's a very good app to have. There's a panic button. If you're seeing something happening, you know, you can do it. You can just push the panic button and get help.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Adrian and Colleen, for your time. Thank you so much for enlightening us and for creating awareness around this. Ladies and gentlemen, human trafficking is real. Cybercrime is also real. So be vigilant, stay awoke, you know. No, parents, do know what is happening in your children's lives. Those iPhones are not just there for them to have toys and everything, or games and everything. There's perpetrators are out there for your kids, because this, as Adrian has alluded, that it's fast making money. So it means that we need to be on the lookout. Stay safe and be safe, and just be vigilant, and don't forget to pray. My name is Ginger, and I'm the founder of Ginger the Voice. We're a company that seeks to give hope, enlightenment, and courage. We do this through different platforms such as MC, speaking, singing, and hosting talk shows. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope to see you next week at 7 p.m. Good night, and God bless.